Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order this joint meeting between City Council and PD&Z for July 22nd, 2024 at 6:03 p.m. We have a quorum of council and PD&Z present. If you all please stand and join me in saying the pledges. First to the U.S. flag, I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To the Texas flag.
On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, so thank you, everyone. Welcome, PD&Z. I think this is the second time in about a year now that we've had one of these, so we're a little bit more spread out this time, which is nice. So hope you guys are doing well. Good to see you. What we have here first is we have a presentation from staff, and then we'll allow them to do this update. Then we'll go right into the public hearing. We've started doing these presentations first, so that way the public knows what the public hearing's about, and then they can come up and speak on this. Tammy, before we have the staff update on the proposed ordinance change, can you kind of speak to what the process is going to look like from tonight after this public hearing with PD&Z and then with council?
Yes, so you'll have the joint hearing, which is fixing to take place. After the joint hearing, this will adjourn, and then the Planning, Development, and Zoning will move up to their regular seats. And then they have an item on their agenda tonight for first reading and recommendation to the City Council of the actual ordinance for the ADUs. And then should they recommend it or recommend it with unfavorable recommendation, then the council will have the final decision at Monday's council. Not at the first meeting
In August.
August.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Tammy. So we will now have a staff update on proposed ordinance 2024-0-24. Yes, please come forward. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I started touching the screen and it moved on its own, so I freaked out a little bit. So what you have before you is an accessory dwelling draft ordinance. This was brought to the attention of staff to draft due to the needs that have been seen for family members that need to stay around the family unit, being example, mother, mother-in-law, father, father-in-law, child who isn't ready to move out, wants to get a nice nest egg before he or she finds a place to live. What this offers is a location near and on the same site as the family principal structure, so they can all be in the vicinity. We heard this 3 times, Planning and Zoning, Development and Zoning heard this 3 times, I believe, and then now we're having this joint public hearing for a recommendation to come from Planning, Development and Zoning after this, like Tammy said. So I'll give a quick presentation of what we've addressed through this process. On this first screen, you can kind of just see the 3 examples, renderings. One being an attached ADU, I'll use ADU just to shorten it, an above garage ADU, which is a garage apartment, and a detached separate structure. The current ordinance has a definition for guest quarters. It's not quite as expansive as what has been proposed in this draft. This that you see on your screen mentions no cooking facility or kitchen, clearly subordinate to the principal structure and residence, and is not rented or leased. And it's very simple. This will be replaced with this ordinance. Definitions added. This is just for your reference. I'm going to go through each of them so you know what we've actually added into the definition section. First, definitions. This is quite a lofty definition for ADU. To summarize it, though, it is, again, still subordinate to, which means smaller in size than the principal structure on the lot, utilized for family, which we define later, that resides in the principal structure. It may be attached to or separate on the same lot, kind of like the examples I showed a second ago. And it can also go over a permanent accessory structure, which is the garage apartment. They are allowed to have a kitchenette, which is a smaller size kitchen, opposed to what the guest quarters said, which was no kitchen whatsoever. So there is some self-sustainability in there. And the stove is limited to 30 inches or larger in width. That's just one of the portions of the kitchenette definition. And for this purpose, in this definition, mobile homes, manufactured homes, recreational vehicles are not construed as ADUs. It has to be a ground-up construction or modular moved in. Next definition, family. This is where we got a little into the nitty-gritty. Family is two persons related by blood within 2 degrees of consanguinity, which would be like your child or your mother. So just one level above or below. And then same with 2 degrees of affinity for marriage. This is actually just tweaked and tailored from what's existing right now for the definition of family. So it still mentions adoption, guardianship, all in a single housekeeping unit. And then it talks about 1 kitchenette per family in the structures. Next, we have defined detached accessory dwelling unit. Again, clearly subordinate to and not connected to the primary structure. Attached, the total opposite, where it's connected to the structure but has a separate means of ingress and egress that does not connect directly to the, principal structure. So it is attached to the building, however, it's a separate unit entirely. Garage apartment, which sounds just like what it is second level ADU on top of a garage. And we defined guest, again, it's similar to family. And it's someone who's not related by blood within 2 degrees of affinity. 2 degrees. Kitchenette, so this means a portion of a room intended for basic cooking and food preparation. Does not include a full-range stove that exceeds 30 inches. So it's kind of one of those that you'd see in your unit. You've got a small corner with a small kitchen that food can be made in, but you're not looking at a full-blown kitchen. Excuse me. Here is a summary of the section that we are utilizing. Section 77-37 was a reserved section in the code, and so we updated that with accessory dwelling unit. What it focuses on mainly is that it cannot be leased or rented. It is for occupancy of the family. Only 1 is allowed per lot, and we address size as well. This is allowed in 3 districts, which is OSFR, Open Single Family Residential, and SFR, as well as planned developments that have residential components to them. In OSFR, we limit it to 650 square feet for the structure, or 20% of the first floor square footage of the principal, whichever is more forgiving and allowing, because they're larger lots. SFR is limited to 650 square feet of conditioned space, not to exceed 50% of the building coverage area behind the principal residence. That's so you don't end up with a small lot with a small backyard just being covered completely by structures. Garage apartments, the floor area, and just imagine this. So the floor area is to not exceed the square footage of the footprint of the existing garage. So if you've got 1,000 square feet for a garage, your second story floor footprint is 1,000 square feet. So it matches what's the ground floor foundation. Height, we have for the detached or attached as well, no taller than the top wall plate of the principal structure, or in the reference to garage apartments, no taller than 30 feet for the entire structure. Setbacks, they must meet the same zoning setbacks as the zone that they're located in. They must have the same address as the principal residence, and utilities cannot be separately metered. It has to be on the same meter as the primary principal residence. Here are a couple examples just for your viewing pleasure. You've got your detached here on the left, and then a garage apartment on the right. Just kind of an example of what you can see. We had one of our staff members draft these up. I'm quite proud of him. Site plans showing the one on the left here, an ADU above an attached garage, so nothing really changes in the footprint. Second is a smaller lot, so SFR with a detached ADU of 650 max. Far right would be OSFR with a principal structure, 4,500 square feet. Their detached ADU could be 20%, which would be 900 square feet. Those are the larger lots. And to wrap it up, we did address drainage by pondering or referencing Chapter 32, the flood damage prevention, and the Manvel Engineering Design Criteria Manual. We didn't create a whole new section. We just said it must abide by the flood regulations that are in existence in the code. And that concludes the presentation.
All right, thank you for that presentation. Mr. Kyle will be very happy with the drainage call out in the presentation, so thank you for that. We will now move on to the public hearing, and for those that are here in the public, what we will do is I'll read this off very quickly. I read fast. We will then do the first call, second call, third call for the public hearing. That means if you wish to speak on the subject of the public hearing, please raise your hand. We'll have you come forward to the front, and then you have the floor to say what you would like as it relates specifically to the public hearing. We do have a person that has submitted a speaker participation form for this, so I will call that person first to speak, and then we will open it up for the calls. So to start the public hearing, to hear input from the public regarding an ordinance of the City of Manvel, Texas, amending Chapter 77, zoning of the Code of Ordinances, providing for the regulations of accessory dwelling units, providing for the creation and modification of definitions related to the regulations of accessory dwelling units, Section 77-3 definitions, providing for amendments to Section 77-27 open single-family residential OSFR district, providing for amendments to Section 77-28 single-family residential SFR district, providing for the amendments to Section 77-37 by establishing a new Section 77-30 accessory dwelling units ADU, and providing for severability and providing a penalty in an amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation of any provision hereof. So Ms. Susan, if you would like to come forward, did that pretty fast time. We will open the public hearing at 6:14 p.m. So if you please come forward to the podium, and then you can address us for the public hearing. Thank you for being here tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, I'm here to talk about the mother-in-law's quarters. We live out off of Acorn, and the street before Acorn, they put a mother-in-law's quarters in about 10 years ago. Well, the mother-in-law has since passed away, and the house has been sold. And I have seen a revolving door because it's a mother-in-law house. It has a kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, and a sun porch. And what I want to make sure is when you guys are talking about this, is that you specify that it will not be rented because this is rented, even though legally they're not allowed to do that. But where the problem comes in is, say the renter quits paying the fees and then he has to be evicted, it takes a long time. And we've lived in Manvel over 30 years, and we've seen this. And I just want to make sure, I don't have a problem with taking care of relatives. I don't have a problem, but I have a problem when I see that it's going, and they're on 10 acres. So they feasibly could have two more mother-in-law houses on each acre and rent it out. That's where I'm coming from. But I just want to make sure the ordinance that you have, I don't like the fact that the kitchenette, I don't think if it's mother-in-law's bedroom, I don't think you need a cooking facility in a mother-in-law's bedroom. That's where I'm coming from. So that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
So, and I want to thank you all for what amazing job you did bringing the city of Manvel back. So, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your comments tonight. We'll take those into consideration.
Yeah, I've never talked before. So
You did good. No, you did.
I'm a little nervous.
You
but
did great.
You can go out behind my house and you can see the nightmare that lives behind me.
Yes, ma'am.
It's horrible, and it's been going on for about the last 15 years.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And you really can't do anything because it was, when they first built the house, he didn't even want to tie he wanted to tie the septic into his own house. And the city council said, you have to have a separate thing. Well, I thought that would shut it down. It didn't. And they have since moved off. And there's been other people that bought the house. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Susan. We will now do the first call for anybody wishing to speak on this public hearing. We will do the second call and the third call. Okay, we will officially close this public hearing at 6:16 p.m. What will happen next is we will adjourn. PD&Z will take over as Tammy laid out the timeline and move forward with their meeting. So do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Bonner. We'll give the second to the chairman of PD&Z, Mr. Ryan Miller. All those in favor? All those opposed? It definitely passed unanimously. I don't know what the count was, but it passed. So we will